Have you ever sat watching a movie just totally lost in it and felt like, wow, this is more than just entertainment?
Oh, definitely. That feeling of connection.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, today we're diving into this really thought-provoking idea. It's called Between Film, a Theopoetic Film Study by Dr. Aaron C. Waldron.
Theopoetic. Intriguing title.
It is. It's all about this fascinating place where cinema meets, our deeper questions, spirituality, meaning, all that stuff.
Okay.
We're going to explore how films, which are huge cultural touchstones, can actually, reflect and maybe even shape how we see ourselves and the world in a big way.
Yeah, and what's really striking, I think, is how it connects these worlds that we usually keep separate.
Right. Film analysis over here, spirituality and theology way over there.
Exactly. Film folks talk narrative, technique. Theology has its own space. But Dr. Waldron's work, and it ties into Lost Raven Studios' mission, too.
Ah, yes. Their focus on spirituality, psychology, personal growth.
Right. It suggests there's this really rich conversation waiting to happen right in the middle between those worlds.
And that's what this deep dive is about, kind of uncovering those connections for everyone listening.
Mm-hmm.
So the mind behind it all is Dr. Waldron. They identify as a religiously traumatized theopoet.
That's quite a description.
It is. And also a shaman in journey.
Mm-hmm.
They use they, them pronouns and often use we when talking about themselves.
So that collective we feels significant, doesn't it? Like it's grounded in shared experience.
Yeah, maybe especially around, spiritual paths, maybe difficult experiences with traditional religion.
And their focus seems to be on how engaging with film in this meta-spiritual way can actually help with healing.
That healing aspect through a meta-spiritual lens, that feels key.
It really does. It suggests we're not just like picking films apart intellectually.
No, it's deeper, more personal.
Yeah. And that term meta-spiritual, it signals moving beyond specific religious rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
Opening things up.
Okay, so let's really get into this core idea. Film as both a mirror and a portal. That's a powerful image.
It is. The mirror part is maybe easier to grasp.
Yeah, we see our own lives, our struggles reflected on screen. We can all relate to that, I think.
Sure. But the portal idea, how does film act as a portal?
Well, this is where Dr. Waldron brings in some really interesting concepts. Theopoetics.
Which is about the symbolic language for the divine. Poetry, metaphor.
Exactly. Then depth psychology, exploring the subconscious, the deeper layers.
Okay, like Jungian ideas maybe. Archetypes.
Could be, yeah. And ontology, which is basically the study of existence, of being itself.
Wow. Okay, so how do those lenses help us see film as this gateway?
Well, connecting it maybe to the bigger picture, it's recognizing that film, like powerful art, taps into our subconscious, right? Our deep human longings.
So by watching these big themes, good versus evil, love, loss, play out in stories and images.
Yeah. Films can give us new perspectives, insights into ourselves, our place in the world.
So Theopoetics helps us see the sacred, maybe in the storytelling itself.
I think so. And depth psychology helps us understand why we react the way we do, emotionally, psychologically.
Makes sense. And ontology pushes us to grapple with those big why are we here questions.
All through just watching a movie. It's kind of amazing when you frame it that way.
It really is.
And this isn't just like abstract theory floating around. Dr. Waldron actually developed a course, a Theo Film Study course.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's listed as both Film 450 and Theo 450. The fact it bridges those departments says a lot.
It really does. It signals that interdisciplinary approach right away.
And the goal of the course is basically using movies to explore those big existential, spiritual questions that, bubble up for most of us.
Which raises a good point. What does it actually mean to study film theologically? It's not just hunting for Bible references, presumably.
No, probably not always. It seems more about looking at how films tackle themes that theology and spirituality have always cared about.
Like morality, the search for meaning.
Right. Good and evil, maybe transcendence, redemption, things like that.
Okay, that makes more sense. It's about the underlying questions.
And for anyone listening who's just curious, there are some cool takeaways here. Like you can start looking at films not just for the story,
but as cultural artifacts, telling us about the time and place they were made.
Yeah. And you can start spotting these recurring, maybe theological or spiritual motifs.
Like what, for example?
Well, maybe the hero's journey as a kind of spiritual quest, or Using light and darkness to symbolize good and evil, pretty common stuff, but seeing it through this lens.
Right, you start noticing it more consciously.
Yeah.
And you said something about connecting it to your own inner life.
Yeah, connecting the screen to your own questions, your own journey. And it sharpens your critical thinking, too, which is always good.
What really stands out there is how active it asks the viewer to be.
Mm-hmm. Not just passively consuming.
No, it's about actively engaging, intellectually, emotionally, even spiritually.
And when you start looking for these motifs, you're kind of developing on a new way to read the deeper meanings in the stories.
New literacy, yeah. Like you mentioned, redemption or sacrifice, that's a huge one in so many films with deep theological roots.
Totally. And the way this course is set up sounds really good for this kind of exploration. It's a dialogue-based seminar.
So lots of discussion, sharing perspectives.
Exactly. In a safe space that's emphasized, they look at specific films, bring in readings to give context.
Okay.
And I really like the focus on open-ended questions, like how does this film portray redemption? Not looking for one right answer.
That makes sense. It invites real reflection.
Yeah, not just spitting back information.
Yeah, and that emphasis on dialogue, the safe space.
Yeah.
That's so important. It reminds me of Paulo Freire.
Oh, the educator.
Yeah, his idea that real learning is mutual. It's an exchange. You create understanding together.
In a community where people feel okay exploring tricky topics without being judged.
Exactly. And those open-ended questions, they're designed to spark that deeper thinking, allow for lots of different interpretations. Meaning isn't fixed.
And to help with that, there's actually a companion piece, the Between Film Meta-Spiritual Workbook.
Ah, a practical tool.
Yeah. Also inspired by Freire's idea of dialogue being transformative. It gives you space to process your reactions, your insights after a film.
Okay, so you watch the film, then you work through your thoughts.
Right. Helps you move beyond just the immediate feeling and connect it to your own life, your own journey,
Right.
whether you do it alone or in a group.
That sounds really valuable. It makes the self-reflection more intentional. It prompts you to think, okay, how did that resonate with my beliefs, my experiences, my questions?
It's a practical way to bridge that gap between the film as a mirror and the film as a portal to your inner world.
Makes perfect sense.
So let's dig a bit more into this meta-spirituality idea. We touched on it, but it's about going beyond any single religious tradition, right?
Yeah, moving beyond the boundaries. It embraces a wider range of views, spiritual, philosophical, existential.
And recognizing that spirituality itself is, well, fluid, deeply personal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's this idea that you can find the sacred or meaning or connection in lots of unexpected places.
Like film.
Absolutely like film. And, with so many people identifying as spiritual but not religious these days.
Right, that's a huge trend.
This idea of meta-spirituality feels really relevant. It offers a framework for exploring those feelings of connection without needing traditional religious structures.
It's more inclusive, more personal, acknowledges that the search for meaning looks different for everyone.
Which leads us right into the between film approach itself.
Okay.
It's rooted in that meta-spirituality.
Yeah.
It's a way of watching movies that lets you, the viewer, find meaning in ways that actually resonate with your journey.
So not trying to cram a film into a predefined theological box.
Exactly. It's more about exploring the film as this living expression of those basic human experiences, the spiritual, the existential that we all grapple with.
What's powerful there is how it empowers the viewer.
Totally.
Yeah.
It shifts away from like an expert telling you the correct interpretation towards something more organic, more personal, your experiences, your questions, your background. That all becomes part of how you find meaning in the film.
It's almost like through this lens, film becomes a kind of modern poetry.
That's a great way to put it.
It works on so many levels at once, right? Image, symbol, story. It speaks a different kind of language. And Dr. Waldron even suggests film can function like a modern sacred text.
Wow. That's a bold claim.
It is. But it invites us to wrestle with big questions, maybe even sense the divine in new ways. That's Theopoetics in action right there.
It makes you think, doesn't it? About the impact certain films have.
Yeah.
How images or scenes just stay with you.
Yeah. Long after the credits. It's like how sacred stories or symbols resonate deep down.
That analogy of film as a modern sacred text, it's really insightful. I mean, in a world where maybe traditional religious stories don't hold the same sway for everyone.
Cinema has become this huge source of shared stories, right? Exploring morality, creating collective experiences even.
Yeah. And Theopoetics helps us appreciate the artistry, the imagination involved in telling those deeper truths and asking those questions through film.
And when Between Film talks about dialogue, we should be clear, it's not just chatting about the movie afterwards over coffee.
No, it's drawing on Paulo Freire again. Dialogue as transformative.
A mutual process. Everyone learning, everyone co-creating meaning.
Right. It involves critical reflection, being genuinely open to different views, questioning your own assumptions.
Not just trying to find the single right interpretation.
Exactly. Freire's idea emphasizes that understanding emerges from that shared exploration. It's this dynamic relationship between the film, the viewer, and the community talking about it.
So the meaning isn't just in the film or in the expert's head.
No, it arises from that interaction, from truly listening and learning from each other.
So when you boil it all down, Between Film is really an invitation, isn't it?
An invitation to shift our perspective.
Yeah, to move beyond seeing movies as just, entertainment.
Yeah.
A way to kill time.
And to see them instead as these potential pathways inward.
Towards deeper self-understanding, our place in things, maybe even towards what someone might call a higher self or God or the divine, whatever term fits.
Exactly. It's a call for more mindful, more intentional viewing.
Recognizing that film can actually be a catalyst for self-discovery, spiritual exploration, even growth.
Yeah, looking beneath the surface story to the existential, spiritual currents running through so many films we watch.
So thinking about all this, maybe a final thought for everyone listening. What might you discover if you start to step beyond seeing films just as entertainment?
And more like these potential gateways inward, towards your own sense of something deeper, more profound.
Yeah. How might these ideas start to shape maybe what you choose to watch or how you process the stories you see?
It's a fascinating question. And it also points towards ways to explore this further.
Right, like Dr. Waldron suggests maybe joining a study group or even a formal course using this Between Film approach.
That could really deepen the experience, couldn't it? Having that shared space for dialogue and discovery.
Absolutely. It really is an invitation, like they put it, to watch with intention.
To listen deeply to what resonates inside you.
To feel the emotions of the story.
Engage thoughtfully with the themes.
And ultimately to move between film and life.
Between film and spirit.
Between film and self. It's a powerful idea to sit with.